Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ian Jones, and here I am again with further thoughts about Dominic Breazeale's challenge for the heavyweight championship of the world, the IBF heavyweight championship of the world, stripped, of course, by the current undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, after his great win over Vladimir Klitschko. A version of the title is now managed to Charles Martin. Now Anthony Joshua now holds the IBF title. Congratulations to Anthony Joshua for that. So now we've got this challenger in Dominic Breazeale, and I have to say this point that Breazeale came through the fight against Mansour, a proven puncher. The Fred Cassie fight, a lot of people thought that Breazeale lost that fight, and a lot of people believe that Breazeale will get blown away in a couple of rounds by Anthony Joshua. Now, one thing I like to see when anybody's talking about becoming a world champion, especially if they fight from abroad, and then they decide to fight from abroad all their career, or most of their career, and then they decide to come to the UK and fight. I have a problem with how long a fight decides to take in preparation before they actually fight. And the first thing is, Dominic Breazeale is talking about waiting for his whole life for this opportunity. And, you know, you've been boxing for the amount of time you've boxed. And surely you must have watched fights where guys come in at late notice, substitutions and all the rest of it. And they come in and they suffer from jet lag. Now, just logic will tell you this much. Dominic Breazeale, former Olympian, unbeaten heavyweight, possibly potentially become the next heavyweight champion of the world, lots of money to be made. You decide you've been optimum preparation, training, wherever you've been training, and you decide to come to the UK the week of the fight. The week of the fight. Is that the sort of preparation necessary? I question that. I think you should be in the country at least. If you're serious about becoming heavyweight champion of the world, you need to be at least in the country 3 weeks, at least. 3 weeks at least minimum. I remember when Ray Beltran came over to fight Ricky Burns. He went and fought in Scotland, and Beltran fought in all, was fighting hot countries and fighting in, Mexico or Puerto Rico, where it's hot. You're comfortable with that. And then you're going to fight someone like in Scotland, totally different time zone. And, he came to the UK and came and prepared accordingly. I don't feel this has been the case with Dominic Breazeale. So, okay, I tried to look past that. And I thought, all right, let me look at Breazeale's workout. And I'm not a big one into looking at workouts, but I watched a workout with Dominic Breazeale, and I don't know if Anthony Joshua has suddenly become 5'2" or 5'6", or even 5'10", because the guy holding the pads, I can't call him a trainer, and no disrespect to that guy who was holding the pads. If you look at the way Breazeale was throwing his punches, they were looking to land on that guy's throat. Bearing in mind, he's throwing his right hand. Bearing in mind, Joshua is significantly taller than that trainer. So the shots that Breazeale was throwing in that workout weren't good. I mean, when he was throwing the jab, if you look the way he's throwing the jab, it was nothing. It was just arm punches, as Jim would say. Just there's nothing behind it, and you're going to be fighting a guy in Anthony Joshua who is, a powerhouse, and there's nothing in your jab. And then worst of all, your trainer's not even allowing you to follow through with your punches and drive your punches home because he's busy slapping. So every time he's throwing a shot, he's catching a shot, he's catching a shot, he's catching a shot and bring it down. So he's taking the sting off your shots, so you don't get to drive your shots right through. And I'm watching that. So Dominic Breazeale can say whatever he wants out of his mouth, but the actions, in the way his preparation is set up to fight Anthony Joshua, it's a concern. We haven't got to the weigh-in yet, so. And then you're going to fight the O2 Arena. What, the fight? 10 o'clock at night, 10, 11 o'clock, depending where Breazeale is from America. Let's say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe California, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you might say that's okay, fine. But fighting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, which is 10 o'clock at night in the UK, that's still a concern. And for me, I don't think that's preparation enough. And then after that, I saw Breazeale bouncing around the ring, you know, without a stiff jab. And I wondered to myself, well, actually, who exactly are you actually going to be fighting? So those things don't bode very well for Dominic Breazeale. You know, he seems to have a bit of flexibility in the way he moves around the ring, but I don't know, people. I don't know. The way he's training, the way he's prepared there, and what I've seen right there, he looks too upright. And for someone like Joshua, and he's throwing punches the way he was throwing the pad work, there's a concern right there. So let me just try and get this up because I haven't got the right, so I can get this up live. So those are my concerns about this. As for Anthony Joshua, I recently watched an interview with him. Seemed a lot more relaxed, real chilled out, and seems to have a lot more to say for himself. Seems to be coming out in his character and seems to be a bit more vocal. I think Anthony Joshua is one of these guys I think will actually get better with time. There's some guys who don't get better with time. I think Joshua's going to be one of these guys who actually gets better with time. Just the way he's managed. There are certain things he said that were very interesting. That he's aware of what the fans want, but he's also aware of what he wants. And he's prepared to deliver for the fans, but he's also prepared first to look after himself. So he's aware, he's a clued up guy, and you can only respect a guy for that. And he's aware that fans want him to fight the best in the world. He wants to fight the best in the world, but he's making it quite clear that, you know, he wants to look after himself, he wants to look after his family, and then whatever happens after that happens after that, you know. So and he understands the business side of boxing, and he's a clued up guy. There's no doubt Anthony Joshua's a clued up guy, and he's well aware of what the public expect of him and demands of him. But one thing I like about him, he's not, I think there was a statement that his management or promoters have been saying that he's the best heavyweight in the world, he's this and that. He potentially could be the best, potentially could be the best heavyweight in the world. But for you to say that you are the best heavyweight in the world without even fighting the best heavyweight in the world, that's, you know, you've just had a guy in Fury who's just beaten the guy who was around the last 10 years as heavyweight champion. So, you know, it's pretty much, for me, a non-starter debate, discussion whether Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight in the world, beating Charles Martin. No disrespect to what he did there, but I'm sure Joshua himself can't say, well, I am the best man on the planet. I may think I'm the best man on the planet, but I've still got to prove that. And there's a difference between somebody like Barry Hearn saying that Joshua is the best thing on the planet. Remember, this is the same guy that was saying Herbie Hyde was the best heavyweight in the universe, and the same guy who actually, Barry Hearn, actually picked Jess Harding to fight Gary Mason, and he believed Jess Harding could beat Gary Mason. And if you can get a chance to watch the tape of Jess Harding versus Gary Mason for the British heavyweight title, that will give you an indication. He believed at the time that Herbie Hyde was the best heavyweight in the world. Around that time, Riddick Bowe was doing his thing, and you saw what happened when Hyde fought Riddick Bowe. Different levels, both significantly heavier, accomplished more as an amateur, and accomplished much more as a pro. So it's you know, and what Vitaly Klitschko did to Herbie Hyde. So I think They don't mind seeing their fighters get smashed after talking a lot of nonsense. So don't buy into the hype. I'm not saying Joshua's not a good fighter, but this hype that the Hearns are going on about is just, it's hype, and that's all it is. It's just hype. Let me see. I've got to try and get this. I didn't get this link right, so give me a second. I'm just going to try and see. I've got people in the room because let me see if I can find out if I can get it up. Get my link page up. So here we go. There we go. Let's get this up so I can see who's in the room. Bear with me a second while I do this. Right, here we go. There's people in the room. White Nationalist says, just 1 week before, really? Sounds like Eddie Hearn has this fight preordained. Seems like to me as well. Harte says, you're up late, Cuzzy Wuzzy. Indeed. Harte says, good to see you. Good to see you too, my friend. I've just been finished talking to Uncle Bashir, and I showed him the video as well. And he wasn't impressed with the training. He wasn't impressed with the trainer. He wasn't impressed with what he saw of Dominic Breazeale. So there you have it. I don't hold up much hope for Dominic Breazeale unless he decides to, you know, change the script in one way, shape, or form. I just don't see how Dominic Breazeale upsets the apple cart unless he comes out. The thing about Dominic Breazeale is this: the fights I've seen Dominic Breazeale in against shorter opponents, he keeps getting clipped and he doesn't seem to make adjustments and get himself out of the way. He likes to let his own punches go. That's fine. But he's very open to counters, and that's against shorter guys. Some guys don't look impressive against shorter guys and fight better against taller guys. Now, he's a tall guy, but from what I saw of his jab and training, didn't look that great. I want to see Dominic Breazeale, if he's going to fight Joshua, he seems to have some movement, but I want to see Breazeale get on the jab and move laterally if he can. He did a lot of moving when he was in the ring doing the warm-ups and then the workout. So I want to see him use the jab, but that pad work, like I said before, did not impress me. And, you know, if he can't get out of the way of the right hand of Joshua, which is his famous punch, then it's problems for Breazeale because he has no form of defense. And so his offense has to be very good. And unfortunately for Breazeale's offense, when he starts landing punches, like I said, he leaves his chin in the air, he's pretty upright, and it's down the pipe, straight right hands over the top. Even when Breazeale was throwing the jab doing the pad work, he was throwing the jab and leaving his chin up in the air. So he's quite open to getting caught over the top, the right hand over the top. So, I mean, if I'm seeing those things there, I'm not even fighting Breazeale, then I'm sure others can see that too. So you don't think he walks the earth like a god? Well, that god, wherever he is, Charles Martin, we haven't seen of since. He must feel, I don't know if he felt like a god then. I wonder what he's feeling like now after being stripped of, or taking his title, being taken away from him. Mind you, got paid quite a hefty amount of money. So wherever he is, Charles Martin, God bless him. Hope we see him soon. Dominic Breazeale got a gift of Cassie. He's a big useless American who's coming over for a payday and concussion. Says feed Khabib. I can't not argue with you there. A big useless American who's coming over for the payday and concussion. It seems, if you look at the way he's prepared for this, it doesn't bode well. But again, him training with if you watch his training, it was like 5 foot nothing versus Dominic Breazeale. I mean, and he has pads there, and Anyway, I'm not going to go into any more. Those are my thoughts on this. So I expect Joshua to do a number on Breazeale, and if he doesn't do a number on Dominic Breazeale tonight or on Saturday night, there's a serious problem. A serious problem. But he says he's preparing to fight tall guys, and he's using Breazeale as a taller guy, range finding. But well, didn't he fight Gary Cornish that lasted a round, didn't it? So I don't know. I hope Breazeale gives it a go, but I can see Breazeale trying to give it a go and getting nailed quickly, simply because his hands. I think Breazeale's going to try and land shots, and that's where Joshua's going to catch him in a fast combination, right hand over the top. I think it's going to be a good night. This fight could end in a round. I really don't want to say that because when Joshua hits him, I think he's going to stay there. When do you think Joshua will fight Fury? Well, first of all, Fury's going to get past. Fury's going to get past Klitschko first, and I think Joshua. Again, you get the funny feeling that they won't fight Fury till next year. I don't think the fight will happen till next year's summer. I think it's more likely that Joshua will fight something like a Molina. I don't know. Yeah, something like a Molina, an Arthur Spilka, someone like that. Who's a name in a way, but not even what's his name, Washington. He'd probably be another opponent he could fight. Ramon Turner says Fury beats AJ, easy work. What about Parker? Yeah, he's talking about Parker. Parker's a possibility as well. Who would win, Breazeale versus Arreola? Both very poor defenses for Wilder and Joshua. I tell you something, Arreola's got the potential. And let's remember the last guy that Arreola fought that didn't have a very good chin. What was his name again? Who everyone was rating as the next best thing in heavyweight boxing. What's the guy's name again? Oh, I forgot the guy and interviewed him as well. The guy Jonathan Banks fought and lost to Jonathan Banks lost to in the rematch. Yeah, literally. Every time he got hit, you get the chance to be scrambling all around the ring. I can't remember his name again. The American football player. Somebody help me out here. Oh, I can see his face now. Seth Mitchell. That's him. Seth Mitchell didn't have a great chin. Now, I'm still not convinced in the chin of Wilder. And if Arreola can catch him, that would be something. What was it like meeting the Furies? Yeah, cool. Just a cool bunch of people. Real cool. Tyson's cool. Peter's great. Huey Fury's cool. They're just a cool family. Just a real good family. Real good family people. Family people who value family. Very respectful. Tyson Fury's a cool dude. Real cool. I've got nothing bad to say about Tyson. I think obviously when I want to ask questions of him, I think like anybody, if you're asking questions, you're in position to ask questions. Some people can take you on one or the other in the questions and answers sort of thing. But outside of that, he's a cool dude. It's a cool dude. So Seth Mitchell is the guy, yes. So Furies are cool, real cool. And it seems every time they're going to fight or come up to fighting to get myself caught up in all sorts of drama. So I'm never able to get myself to get across to do the coverage I'd like to do with them. So it's a bit of annoyance. But how you deal with the hand that you're dealt with in boxing. I think while I'm here, I'm doing this live show. I think I'll just go through and do not just the Joshua Breazeale. I'll just go for everyone that I think. Do you think Luis Ortiz can beat any of the champions? Well, the WBA is strict. See, Tyson made a very interesting point. He said Luis Ortiz, that as old as he is and as impressive as he's looked, he didn't do anything as an amateur. And he said, well, that doesn't mean anything, but it does mean something. I mean, he always came second or third or fourth then in the amateurs. So Luis Ortiz is really getting on. Does he beat Wilder? I mean, but the thing is, who's going to fight Luis Ortiz? He's a southpaw. He's tricky. He can punch. But I also have mentioned the fact that when he fought Bryant Jennings, there was there's a part of that fight where I was thinking, this guy Ortiz's stamina is not the greatest. So there was concerns there. Luis Ortiz is a good fighter, but I like to see him fight a guy that can crack him back. I like to see him fight a guy that can, do damage back at him. So I don't know how good Luis Ortiz is, but we do need to find out. And he needs to fight somebody else, not a Bryant Jennings, but somebody who can really dig. I'm not sure. I can't really answer that one about Luis Ortiz. We need to see him fight somebody else. I'd like to see like a fight Luis Ortiz versus Joseph Park, or Luis Ortiz versus Bermane Stiverne. I would like to see Wilder Joshua as much as Fury Joshua. I think that's a good fight too. I think that's a very good fight. Very good fight. Those are good fights, but we still don't know how good Joshua is when somebody's firing punches back at him. We know what Dillian Whyte did, but we really don't know how good Anthony Joshua is. We really don't. And, we'll hope Dominic Breazeale can show us something else. But there you go. George Groves versus Martin Murray. I'm picking Martin Murray for this one. The only way I see George Groves winning this fight is by stopping Martin Murray inside the first 6 rounds. Other than that, same old George Groves. Same old Georgie boy. Fights for 6 rounds, tries to get a guy out there. In fact, he's never knocked anybody out of world class. So where everyone says that George Groves is a phenomenal big puncher, I don't know. He's decent, but his chin is questionable as well. His fight against, what's his guy's name? Was it Brophy? The Scotsman who had like 1 KO in his career. He got wobbled by him early in the fight. So I think Mike Murray's got a good chance of even stopping George Groves mid to late rounds. There you go. Yes. Harte says, will Wilder ever fight a top heavyweight? Depends where you rate Arreola. Arreola was a top heavyweight, but I don't know. I think Wilder is a good fighter. He's fighting regularly as a heavyweight. So and he's getting better. But Povetkin fight for me would have been the fight for me. It really would have been the fight for me to see Wilder's improvements and fight against Povetkin. And if he'd wiped to Povetkin, that'd have made a huge statement. Fikubi, is the left hook from Whyte the only time Joshua has been hit with a decent punch? He didn't react well. That's my point. He didn't react well. So I want to see how he does against somebody now who, who's going to hit more than with a left hook. How does he respond? We saw how he responded in the amateurs when he got hit and he got nailed. So what he does in the professional ranks, God only knows. The story that Chris Eubank Jr. will be fighting Gennady Golovkin, your dad can tell you all you want. You can believe yourself all you want, but I've got to ask the question, where in the Chris Eubank, you talk about you preparing yourself and you're working yourself through the top contenders, and you're going to go and fight for the championship of the world. You're going to fight Gennady Golovkin, and you scratching my head. You fight Billy Joe Saunders. You lost to Billy Joe Saunders. And clearly, if I were him, I'd want to clean that situation up first before fighting Gennady Golovkin. So there are problems there. I mean, Gennady Golovkin is a good fighter. He's another guy who hasn't really been tested yet. And Eubank Jr., I don't know. I really don't know. I think his dad sent him to the slaughterhouse, to be quite honest. I like Gennady Golovkin, and as Uncle Bashir said to me the other day, I would love to put Marvin Hagler in a time machine and let Gennady Golovkin fight Marvin Hagler and see how he would have done. But we need to see Kennedy fight big fights. Even if he's fighting a Daniel Jacobs, we'd love to see him do it. But I want to see him fight something decent. Will Khan ever fight Brook? Well, no, I don't think so. And Brook's going to fight Vargas, I believe, now. So that's something to look forward to. While I'm on the subject of welterweights, let's talk about Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. Keith Thurman, for those who know, followed me on Bayloric for a while. I've known that I've done quite a few interviews with Keith in the past. Followed Keith, right after the Carlos Quintana fight. Done a lot of interviews with Keith. Talked to him a lot, and I have to say, I don't think Keith has improved as a fighter. I think Keith has stagnated, because if you're not improving, you stagnate, you're going backwards. And his fights against Bundu, if he can't get you out of there in the first couple of rounds, he goes back onto the back foot and pot shotting, winging wide punches. And the shoulder injury has lost him, something. Has not been right since that she's coming from that shoulder injury. So my concerns are with Keith Thurman against Sean Porter is that go back and look at the Kaladza fight, go and look at the fact that Kaladza started closing the range down, and Keith looked very uncomfortable, very, very, very uncomfortable. And Kaladza kept closing the range down, landed the body shot. And if he's getting buckled by one body shot, imagine what Porter's going to do. I think Porter's going to punch the spit out of Keith Thurman's mouth. He really is. All that talk Keith's been talking all the time. He's the best welterweight in the world, blah, blah, blah. This man's old, and blah, 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 blah. He's been talking gas for a long time, Keith. I don't know if he's trying to sell himself into believing something, but I can tell you Saturday night, it's not Leonard Bundu who's in the ring with. It's not Robert Guerrero who's in the ring with. It's not Luis Collazo who's in the ring. He's in the ring with Sean Porter, who's getting ready, who has fought and lost, knows what it's like to lose a fight. And he's going to be in. Keith hasn't fought for a long time. And based on his last fight against Collazo, which was not impressive, you've got to ask yourself the question, how big a punch is Keith Thurman? Porter has fought Brook, physically very strong. Is Thurman as strong? As you've got to ask yourself that question. Brook was able to tie up Thurman. Brook was able to tie up Porter. Can Thurman do that? Well, first of all, Thurman doesn't tie fighters up, does he? Honestly, when you see Thurman tying guys up, and Thurman does not fight well when you're on his chest. So for me, Thurman can only fight one way. Once he can't get you out of there, he reverts onto the back foot. So it's just a matter of Sean using the jab, get him to the ropes, and then exploding when Keith's on the ropes. And Keith's pulling back with his punch, head straight up in the air, left hooks and right hands all the way. I'm looking for Thurman actually get stopped in this fight by Porter. He's going to have to do something very different. He's going to have to keep the center of the ring for all 12 rounds against Porter. And Porter has got to learn from his mistakes he made against Brook. Brook is actually the perfect fight for Porter to learn from, to fight Keith. He's fighting a guy who's physically very strong. I think Brook's more accurate than Thurman is. Thurman's very wild. I think a guy who can punch straight will always beat Thurman than a guy who's winging wide. He just throws his punches from all these weird, wide winging angles and leaves himself exposed. His chin's in the air all the time. And Keith's chin is very questionable still. Nobody knows how good Keith's chin really is. He's been dropped a few times in his career. So nobody knows how good Keith Thurman's chin really is. It's like talking and saying you're the best welterweight in the world. Blah, 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 blah. It's when you get hit on the chin, it's a different matter altogether. So that's what I want to know. There's question marks about Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. But I think fights against Broner and Brook would surely have made Porter in a better position than Thurman's been in. Why won't Khan fight him, in your opinion? Because you kind of half feared what happened to him against Canelo, could happen to him against Brook, and you really don't want that happening to you against Kell Brook, because that really is the end of your career. Ramon Tony says Khan is 1 KO away from being kicked out of boxing. You better stay away from Kell Brook for his safety. LOL. I totally agree with you, Ramon. How much more power can Hughie Fury gain, and can he keep the big boys off him? Well, I remember Lennox Lewis when he started his career. He wasn't that big of a puncher. I mean, he was a heavyweight guy, but he wasn't a big puncher. Remember, he put on a bit more weight and got older, and he became a real dynamite puncher. So we'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell. But he's got good boxing ability, got an excellent jab. And because Hughie's got an excellent jab, that will be key in his heavyweight development. So, yeah. Other points to come up. Kovalev versus Ward. I believe Ward's going to be fighting on August the 9th before he fights Kovalev on November the 17th. I think the way you beat Kovalev and Gennady Golovkin is to get on their chest, big controlling distance and space, and their punch power. That's a concern. But you know, Kovalev has never fought a guy like Andre Ward. Point blank, he hasn't. The most trickiest opponent he's probably fought is Hopkins, and this is an old Hopkins. To be honest with you, boxing fans, hello, hope you're well, Shingola, Chico Bongola, hope you're well. To be honest with you, Kovalev is a puncher. He boxes a bit. He's a puncher. Take the punch power away from Kovalev. There's no way Kovalev is a better boxer than Andre Ward. And Andre Ward will take that power, I believe, away from Kovalev. Because, you know, you land them shots against guys who can't box, or guys that past their prime, like someone like Hopkins. You know, Pascal had some successes against Kovalev. I believe he dropped Kovalev in the first fight, but it wasn't scored a knockdown. So for me, I think that Andre Ward, if you can take the power away by getting on Kovalev's chest, I think once he gets on the inside, he's going to have plenty of opportunities if he can get on the inside. But he's got to get it on the inside against Kovalev. He cannot take this from the outside, try and box on the outside. So those are my thoughts there. Would Gennady Golovkin knock out Eubank Senior in his date? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Gennady Golovkin, you know, it took him 11 rounds to get rid of Martin Murray. And remember, Eubank not only had a great chin, he could punch. I don't think so somehow. I don't think so. It's hard for Ward to get back to elite level and fight Kovalev when you fight bums 2 years straight. And I know you say that. I think that's the plan. I think that was always the plan for Kovalev and Ward, that Ward would fight certain opponents, certain type of opponents to get the Kovalev fight. I don't think they want Ward to get any sharper. But I think Ward is a smart man. And, you know, I know you say he's been fighting bums, but he also was the elite #1 pound for pound when he was super middleweight champion. In terms of the caliber opponents he fought at the time for the Super 6. He did the best he could there. Fikaboo says, Ward fought Paul Smith, put some respect on his name. Smith is trained by Trainer of the Year, Gallagher, and he's world level. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or being serious there, Fikaboo. I still got Ward. I've got Ward as well. He fought the cruiserweight Paul Smith. Is Paul Smith known as a middleweight or super middleweight? He's fighting a cruiserweight. He came in well overweight, Paul Smith, and got beaten to a pulp for it, quite literally. Anything what else? A lot of people got ward for the fight. Yeah, what else? News. The return of Dillian Whyte. It's good to hear Dillian Whyte's back. Fighting against a guy that Bellew knocked out in the 10th round. This fight's a gimme, I think, for Dillian Whyte. Nice to see him back. Let him ease himself into back. But then I want to see him in some proper good fights, like I've mentioned in my previews. Anthony Ogogo, stop-start career, injured, had a lot to say for himself. I really can't get to like that guy. I've tried my best to like him, but I can't stand him. And I just think that I really think Ogogo is going to be one of these guys that gets knocked out inconspicuously. I just don't think he's going to last very long, his career. I think he's got a weak chin. I don't think he's going to do very well. What else am I going to say to you? Usyk versus Golovkin. Well, I've just finished talking to Uncle James Ali Bashir, assistant trainer to Vladimir Klitschko. So I managed to talk to him about Muhammad Ali, managed to talk to him about Alexander Usyk and his challenge for Golovkin, and I also talked to him about Dominic Breazeale and Anthony Joshua. So that's some stuff for you guys, to listen to in the near future. Usyk says he wants Bellew at Goodison. Well, once he becomes WBO champion, I don't know if Bellew's going to be so quick to want to fight Usyk at Goodison. I think Bellew will do a swerve on that one and look for David Haye. Should David Haye get past Shannon Briggs, which is no foregone conclusion, because a heavier David Haye has got to be better against Shannon Briggs for Shannon Briggs to have a chance. Because the slower David Haye is, the more chance Shannon's got of landing. And if he lands on David Haye's chin, it's over. I don't care what anybody tells me. If Shannon lands on Haye's chin, it's over. So I just don't think Haye's got the capacity to take a punch from Shannon Briggs. I just don't. Not in the first couple of rounds, at least. White admitted Chisora got the best of him in sparring. Yeah, well, the moon with Tyson Fury saying he got beat up in sparring by Anthony Joshua. But if you talked to Tyson when he was there was no Peter Fury in the corner, and he wasn't training on his uncle. He was doing his own thing. So I think time and season's everything. Derek Chisora, Chisora's finished as far as I'm concerned. He's one of these guys that are finished. It's just a matter of time before he gets laid out again. Derek Chisora, he's a character. That's it. But just look at Hayward put Bellew in hospital. It'll be interesting. What else have we got to talk about? Let me think. Kovalev, Ward. If anything I haven't spoken about or talked about, Muhammad Ali. Obviously, the death of Muhammad Ali. I managed to be was in Chicago, and I managed to see the house of Muhammad Ali at one point. It was a beautiful thing to see. I've recorded it, and at some point I'll show you that video as well. I got taken around by a big hip hop artist in Chicago, and he showed me around Chicago, and that was one of the stops we made in Chicago. So that was a great stop. Ramon Turner says, hoping Dillian's the one to put him down for good. Well, so I think Dillian would be. I think Dillian's somebody who I think I'd like to see Dillian become heavyweight champion of the world. Yeah, he's Jamaican born, I believe, and it'd be great for them to have a world heavyweight champion in Jamaica. I think it would be fantastic and great for Dillian to go to Jamaica and across the Caribbean. Let's see more Caribbean fighters fighting, in the heavyweight division. That'd be nice. So it'd be great if he could do that. You had Bermain Stavern in Haiti become world champion, so it'd be great to see it. Will Haye fight Shannon, or will he do a Haye? No, I think he'll fight Shannon. He's got to fight Shannon. I mean, that last guy that Haye fought, Haye could have fought that guy in his third fight of his career. So I mean, I don't know if this is true or not. Alan Smith said that Dillian White has got more skill than David Haye, Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua. Is that true? Alan Smith said that? Because if he is, he's been smoking something. I ain't saying what, but he's smoking something. Right. I don't think there's anything else I've really got to talk about, to be honest. It was just those thoughts I had about Mr. Breazeale. Question is, will it be a breeze for Anthony Joshua, or is Dominic Breazeale really bringing trouble? We'll soon find out. Thank you for tuning in at the time you have. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments, share the video, share the love across Twitter and across Facebook, and tell other people about the channel. Let's get involved, and hopefully tomorrow I will upload the interview I did with James Bashir with some really interesting news. Okay, this has been Ingram Jones from Baylor TV. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's 2 a.m. I'm gonna get some sleep. I'm out. Thanks for watching.